Did you hear about Shannon Sharp getting fired from ESPN and the basketball player Gilbert Arenas getting picked up by the feds for running illegal? What? No. Gilbert Arenas got arrested by the feds? Bro, hold on, man. Breaking news. What the fuck? Okay, let me show you guys what I'm looking at. For those of you who don't know, Gilbert Arenas is a former NBA player. He was really good. I remember watching him back in like 03 and shit like that, back when I used to follow the NBA. What? Niggas got him for gambling, bro? All right, damn, this is breaking news. Let me go ahead and look at this shit.
Now in one breaking news, former NBA star Gilbert Arenas arrested and facing federal charges, accusing him of running an illegal gambling ring out of his San Fernando Valley home. Good afternoon. This is the KTLA 5 News at 1. I'm Glenn Walker.
And I'm Lou Parker. Arenas is expected to make his first appearance in a federal courtroom this afternoon.
KTLA 5's Jennifer McGraw live now outside that courtroom in downtown L.A. with more on this breaking story. Jennifer.
Yeah, Glenn and Lou, this is big news, especially for sports fans who adore him. Take a look. This happened.
Yeah, and I remember Gilbert Arenas was killing it back in the early 2000s, guys. Like, his jersey used to sell like crazy. I remember he used to have the number 0, and I think the reason why he had that number was because he used to get 0 minutes of play. It was a play on that. So, wow.
Back in allegedly in 2021 to 2022 that he was allegedly working this illegal poker game. He and 5 others have been indicted, alleging that the suspects operated an illegal gambling business. Now, this illegal gambling business went and spanned over for about a year. Gilbert Arenas, known as Agent Zero, well known for his career with the Wizards and current podcast, he and 5 others have been indicted for allegedly that the suspects operated the illegal gambling business in which high-stakes poker games were played at an Encino mansion Arenas owned. He is charged with 1 count of conspiracy to operate an illegal gambling business, 1 count of operating an illegal gambling business, and 1 count of making false statements to federal investigators. During this time, investigators say Arenas rented out an Encino mansion he owned for the purposes of hosting that.
Encino's a very nice suburb of L.A.
At high-stakes poker. At Arenas' direction, Arthur Katz, 51 of West Hollywood.
Oh, nigga had a thing that said Arenas Poker Club? Nigga had a... Bruh. Yo, what the fuck? This nigga literally had branding for it? Bro. Yo. What the fuck? Wow. Dude, you know what? I might as well start selling drugs and make a thing that says, Myron Gaines Pharmacy. What the fuck, bro? Yo. This is the most nigga shit I've ever seen.
At Arenas'
Yo, they're definitely going to use that as evidence against him, by the way, chat. Just so you guys know. They're literally going to say, you have branding for your gambling club, and you don't have a license for this. Nigga, this is going to be Government Exhibit 001. How much y'all want to bet? If he goes to trial, this is going to be Government Exhibit 001, bro. Yo, this nigga, bro. Wow. All right, guys, I'm going to start up an LLC. It's going to be called the Myron Gaines Pharmacy. I'm going to start selling drugs. Hopefully I don't get caught.
Direction, Arthur Katz, 51 of West Hollywood, staged the mansion to host the games and collected rent from the co-conspirators on Arenas' behalf.
By the way, let me tell you guys something I learned from being around a lot of girls. Illegal gambling in LA is fucking rampant, by the way. Okay? This is like some insider shit. Illegal gambling, literally, put it this way. There is such a big industry of legal gambling in LA. There's an entire underground industry of girls that their only job is to go to these underground poker games and serve out drinks and basically be waitresses / bartenders. That's how common gambling is in LA, which is kind of a weird that they would go ahead and actually arrest somebody for this. But I'll tell you why. It's because he's Gilbert Arenas. He's famous. So this is like this is going to be a big, case for them. It's going to be super, a lot of press, etc. I told you guys before, I'll say it again. As someone that used to work for the federal government, I know how it is. The feds are clout chasers. So if they could go ahead and make an arrest and it'll hit the news and it'll be a big arrest, they'll do it. Because illegal gambling in LA is fucking rampant. I see some of you guys in the chat agree with me. Yes, guys. I can't tell you how many times I've went to Vegas and I've met girls there. You know what they tell me? Oh, I'm like, hey, what do you do for work? A bunch of them. Yeah, so I do this, I do that. Also, one of the things I do is I go to LA and I bartend poker games. What? Yeah, there's a lot of like people that do underground gambling and they need like bartenders and waitresses and shit. I was like, what? And bro, I've met at least 5 to 10 girls that have told me about this shit. So, it's kind of like it's a very it's underground, but it is also very known as well. Does that make sense, chat? So, yeah, that's wild though. That's wild that they went and I guess they're trying to make an example out of Gilbert Arenas, because this is a big problem in LA, chat. All these fucking rich people have underground gambling rings at their mansions.
To look at all the defendants listed on the indictment, it is alleged that the defendants' Pot Limbo Omaha poker games, among other illegal games, were played at the Encino mansion, collected a rake fee for the house charged from each pot.
And I'll be honest with you guys, the feds almost never go after gambling unless it's part of a bigger case. So I want you guys to also know this too when it comes to gambling and shit. So there's certain crimes that when charged alone, don't really get much time, right? You know, like interstate transportation of prostitutes, right? Like you guys saw with Diddy or whatever. Like, there's certain charges that they'll never charge by themselves. Gambling is one of them. But what I've seen is they'll make exceptions and charge you with gambling if, A, it's a part of RICO, like you got an organized crime or you got a organized crime squad, organized crime organization, right? It's organized crime. Or you're famous and they could get some clout off it. But illegal gambling, bro, most agencies don't even bother with doing it because the amount of work that it takes to get undercovers in there, you know, build your case, etc., they're not going to do that much time for illegal gambling. Unless it's a part of a bigger case. This is how they used to go after the mafia. So what the mafia would do is they would have these illegal gambling rings. And they would use the gambling as a add-on charge to justify their racketeering charge. Does that make sense, guys? Because for racketeering, you need to display a pattern of racketeering activity. You need a couple of different prerequisite crimes. Gambling counts towards that. But it's not common that you see them coming after you for gambling alone and nothing else.
There is a percentage or as a fixed amount per hand and invited players to compete. Now, which is illegal. Now, if these defendants that have been listed in this indictment.
All right, so here's the DOJ press release. Shout out. Also, let me give a quick shout out. This comes from Kingstack91. Kingstack, thank you for bringing this to my attention. All right, so let's read this. Former NBA star, suspected Israeli crime figure, arrested on federal indictment alleging high-stakes illegal poker games at Encino. Okay, former NBA star Gilbert Arenas and 5 other defendants. Okay, so an Israeli star, huh? Or Israeli crime. Included a suspected high-level member of an Israeli transnational organized crime group were arrested today on a federal indictment alleging they operate an illegal gambling business in which high-stakes poker games were played. Arenas, 43, a.k.a. Agent Zero of Woodland Hills, is charged with 1 count of conspiracy to operate illegal. Okay, interesting. Also charged in indictment today. Now we know why they went after them. This fucking guy here. You have Jenny Gershman, one of them boys. Each of these defendants is charged with 1 count of conspiracy to operate an illegal gambling business and 1 count of operating an illegal gambling business, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here we go. Gershman. Gershman, an Israeli citizen, also charged with Valentina Kojakari, 35 Woodland Hills, with 3 additional counts: conspiracy to commit marriage fraud, and making false statements in an immigration document. In early 2022, Gershman conspired with Kojakari to enter into a sham marriage for the purposes of obtaining a permanent legal status in the United States. I told y'all niggas this is what they be doing, bro. Marriage fraud is common. Who did this case? Hey, let's go. HSI did it, baby. Let's go. Here we go. Homeland Security Investigations Northridge office ran this case. All right. Let's go, HSI. Let's go, baby. Arresting these Israeli fucking crooks. Get them out of here. Get them out of here. Get that nigga out of here, baby. Send them back to Tel Aviv, baby. Nigga over here committing fucking gambling and fraud, marriage fraud. Fuck out of here. Let's go, baby. Oh, man. Okay. So he did marriage fraud and a whole bunch of other shit. All right. So Gershman and Kojari submitted false information on their U.S. immigration forms, including Gershman's answer of no as to whether he had ever been detained by a law enforcement official and as to whether he intended to engage in illegal gambling or any other form of commercialized vice. Kojakari was also arrested today and is scheduled to make her initial appearance to be arraigned this afternoon. Oh, wow. Okay, let's go through this real quick. Let's pull this up, chat. So let's go Pacer. Central District of California. Bam. Okay, so it looks like this guy was their main target, and then Gilbert Arenas just happened to know this nigga and was gambling with him. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's go into this. We could just type in Arenas because it's all going to come back by the same name. Arenas, Gilbert, run query. All right, so we're going to click this, defendant. Okay, so this is the one we're going to click. We're going to go USA versus Gershman et al. So, look, the fact that Gershman is the file title, that means that was their main target. Gilbert Arenas just got wrapped up in it. So, let's click this, USA versus Gershman, so we can look at everybody's case. So, you go there, then you click DACA report. Then you hit run report. This is how you guys find cases federally. So, here we go. Conspiracy operating illegal gambling business, conspiracy, marriage fraud, false statements and visas, etc. This is the Israeli guy. Evgeny, yeah, he's probably one of them too, bro. Alan Astoria. Yari Cohen. Oh, yeah, you definitely know this nigga, bro. Yaron Cohen. Oh, lay. Arthur Katz. Gilbert Arenas. How much y'all want to bet Gilbert Arenas is the only dumb nigga that got caught up with these dudes? Okay, and then this is the girl, Valentina Kojakari. This is the girl that did the marriage fraud for the Israeli guy. Okay, let's see if we can look at the indictment. Sealed indictment. Let's see. Oh, so they indicted them last week. They indicted them on the 15th, but they arrested them today. Yeah, so they indicted them on the 15th. Okay, so. Okay, now I know a lot of you guys that watch me are new here. You guys might not. Give me ones in the chat if you guys want me to explain the difference between criminal complaints, indictments versus arrest warrants, all that other shit. Information. Like, give me ones if you guys want me to explain it, because I've done this a million times on Fed Reacts, but I do realize that we got a new audience of new people that might not be familiar with my background and not familiar with how I've done these cases before. So if you guys want me to go ahead and do it, give me ones in the chat and I'll explain the difference between indictment and everything else like this, because this is very important. All right, I'll do it real quick. So I'll do it quickly for those that don't want to hear it again, but I'll go through it real fast. Okay. So I'm going to focus on the federal system when I do this explanation. In the federal system, guys, there's 3 ways that you're going to be arrested, okay? Number 1, and most common, is by indictment, okay? An indictment is basically where a grand jury of your peers, okay, assembles and they hear a case from a AUSA, a federal prosecutor, and an agent that's involved in the case, right? This is a formal way of charging someone. Most common and a formal way. If you're going to be arrested in the United States and charged with a federal crime, you need to be indicted by law, okay? Or hit with an information, which we're going to talk about information here in a second. So the way it works is this. Let's say I get a case, right? I get a call from Coast Guard, right? They give me a call and they say, hey, we got this guy. We caught him off the coast with, 100 kilos of cocaine. I show up. I interview the bad guy. Hey, where were these drugs supposed to go? Blah, blah, blah. Interview him. Arrest him, right? I take him from the custody of Coast Guard. I call the U.S. Attorney's Office. Hey, I got this guy here. We caught him with 100 kilos of cocaine trying to transport it. Can I get it? Can I get an acceptance of prosecution? Yep, we'll take it. Awesome. I write up a criminal complaint, and then we go later and we indict him, right, with a grand jury. When you go ahead and you indict somebody, the agent comes in and testifies and gives all the facts of the case. The AUSA is there asking the agent questions about the case. Now, it's very important that you guys understand, when you get indicted, the threshold is simply probable cause, okay? So when you go in and you testify for the grand jury, you're just establishing enough for probable cause to get what's called a true bill of indictment. And then the jury, the grand jury foreperson, signs that, okay? And then when you get your true bill of indictment, you take it to the judge, and then the judge gives you an arrest warrant. Okay? Then you go pick up your guy. So that's how an indictment works. To sum it up, a group of your peers hears cases. The agent and the prosecutor present the case. If there's sufficient evidence to establish probable cause, they will return a true bill of indictment. Once you get that true bill of indictment, the agent goes and gets assigned by the judge's clerk. They get the arrest warrant, and they go pick up the guy. That's how an indictment works. Now, let's go back to the scenario I gave you guys before. I called the AUSA. Hey, I got this guy with 100 kilos of coke. Will you guys accept prosecution? Yes. I write up something called a criminal complaint. A criminal complaint, guys, is a document that is supported by an agent's affidavit. In the affidavit, it lists out all the probable cause as to how this investigation started, how the individual committed the crime, and the evidence that we've established to establish, the evidence that was gathered to establish what? Probable cause. It's very important that you guys understand that in order to arrest someone in the United States, you need probable cause. And then to prove them guilty, you need beyond a reasonable doubt. So the threshold for probable cause is down here. Beyond a reasonable doubt is up here. This is why feds rarely take cases, because even though they're establishing probable cause just to get the guy arrested, a lot of the times they already have more than enough for beyond a reasonable doubt too. Okay? So the agent drafts up their affidavit, send it to the judge. Well, you send it to your AUSA. Your AUSA makes sure it's good, legally sufficient. He sends it to the judge. Judge's receptionist calls you in. You go into the judge's chambers. Is everything you say to the true and correct to the best of your knowledge, Agent Fuddle? Yes, you obviously swear to it. Yes, it is. Bam, he signs it. You get an arrest warrant, you go pick him up. Now, here's the important distinction. When you get a criminal complaint on somebody, right, you still have to indict the individual within 2 weeks after you file the criminal complaint. The criminal complaint, think of it as like a Band-Aid, okay? It gets the legal process going, but you're going to have to come in and do an indictment later. This is why most AUSAs prefer to just do an indictment off rip, so they don't have to go ahead and be redundant. So you're probably wondering, Myron, why the fuck do they even do criminal complaints? Like, what's the purpose of doing a criminal complaint if you got to indict them anyway? The reason why, guys, is because criminal complaints move much faster, okay? As you guys know, to convene a grand jury and present your case, that takes time. And in most districts, the grand jury only meets once every week or every 2 weeks, all right? So let's say, like, for example, when I was in Laredo, the grand jury used to meet every Wednesday, right? But that was a busy district. Other districts that aren't as busy, they might meet every 2 weeks, or they might not even meet unless there's a case that needs to be heard, right? So the criminal complaint allows the agent and the AUSA the flexibility to move quickly, make the arrest, and then worry about indicting them later. Because you get about a 2-week grace period to indict someone after you arrest them on probable cause criminal complaint, okay? So that is why criminal complaints are very popular, especially when when you don't have that much time. I'll give you guys an example of this. When Little Dirk, right, when Little Dirk got arrested, as you guys know, he tried to flee the country, okay? When Little Dirk tried to flee the country, what he did was he booked multiple tickets to multiple places. I think he booked a flight to like Italy, another one to France or some shit like that. He booked like 3 different tickets. So clearly, he was a flight risk. So the agents didn't have time to fucking sit there and be like, oh yeah, let me go ahead and get a grand jury together. No, they had to make a move right there. So FBI LA called FBI Miami. Hey, we think he's gonna flee. We're writing up a criminal complaint over here. We need you guys to go arrest him. Cool. So the agent out of FBI Los Angeles writes up the criminal complaint, gives it to her AUSA. They get an arrest warrant. They got that arrest warrant. That agent emails that arrest warrant to FBI Miami. FBI Miami goes and gets him. Does that make sense, chat? So this is an example where a criminal complaint is very important. Another example, the Boston Marathon bombers. When the Boston Marathon bombers were arrested, right? Obviously, they led the police on a wild goose chase, throwing bombs out of cars, shooting at people, shooting at Watertown police officers. I remember it vividly because I was living in Boston at the time. When they finally caught Zarkar Sornev, as he was hiding in the boat, right? They took him into custody, and they didn't have time for a grand jury to fucking come in and convene. They just wrote up a criminal complaint. And I'll give you guys an example of this, maybe. So here you go, boom. This is a criminal complaint against Zarkar Sornev. Okay, you can see here Daniel R. Gank, special agent. right? So they filed it the day that they got him. And then they go ahead and go into all the facts of the investigation. So that's an example of when you're going to do a criminal complaint. You need to get the guy into custody quickly, and you need to get the proceedings going fast. That's when you do a criminal complaint. And then we did the indictment. Now, the third thing that they can use, okay, the third thing is something called an information. Now, informations are rare, guys. They're very rare. And what information is typically is the AUSA themselves files a document to charge you, okay? No affidavit, no nothing. They just file an information. Now, when it comes to informations, you're still charged with a felony. It's all the same shit. But typically what I've seen with informations is people that get charged with informations typically are cooperating with the government early on in the investigation, right? They'll turn themselves in. They're trying to cooperate with the government, whatever the fuck it may be. Maybe they're giving information, whatever. So like information a lot of the times, 9 out of 10 times, means that individual is cooperating with the government. It's not as serious. Still serious. You're still getting hit with a felony. But more than likely, you're not going to do a lot of time behind bars if you get hit with an information. But it is still officially a charging document. So, to recap, an indictment is a formal charge in the United States. Okay? If you're not getting hit with an information, you must be indicted by law in the United States. It's a formal charge of criminal in the criminal justice system. A criminal complaint is a way to expedite the process of the indictment and get the individual under custody. But the drawback for that, what it has in speed, lacks in authenticity to a degree, because you have to still indict the individual after. Criminal complaints work when you're pressed for time and you got the subject in front of you and you don't want to let him go. You already got him in custody. So what, you want to fucking let him go and then come back and indict him 2 weeks later? No, he'll be fucking gone. So you arrest him, write up the criminal complaint, and that complaint will keep him in custody for 2 weeks so you can go ahead and get your indictment together. Give me ones in the chat if that makes sense. Yeah, who else on the fucking internet can do these breakdowns for you guys? I don't think anybody can, by the way. Because I've done all three. I've done informations with AUSAs. I've done indictments, obviously, hundreds of them. Criminal complaints, all that shit. All right, awesome. So here you go. So in the indictment, right? The indictment isn't going to have as much facts as a criminal complaint. That's why I like criminal complaints so much better, because the criminal complaint is written by the agent. And in the criminal complaint, you get all the, nitty-gritty details of how they establish probable cause. In the indictment, you don't get that. You kind of get more of a overview of the case. So beginning no later than or about September 12, 2021, and continuing at least on or about July 20, 2022 in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California. Elsewhere, these are all the defendants. Knowingly conspired with each other with others known to blah, 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 right? To do the gambling shit. And then they go into, the facts. Look at this. I knew it. These niggas literally took this. This is going to be used as evidence against them right here. The fact that this guy literally made branding for it is crazy. So look, you can see all these overt acts. The reason why they have these overt acts, guys, is because in order to charge someone with conspiracy, you need an agreement between 2 or more people and an overt act. So look, here we go. On November 23rd, 2021, defendant Arenas texted defendant Katz that his financial advisor, RJ, was asking for rent for the illegal poker game hosted at the Gable House. Boom. That's considered an overt act for conspiracy purposes. It doesn't take much, chat. It doesn't take much. So, damn, niggas got 25 plus overt acts? Wow. 45 overt acts. Yeah, these niggas are cooked. God damn. God damn. And the other thing, too, is they clearly got this information from their phones. Because they said, look, how they're referring to text messages. Okay, so Arenas, look, 18 USC 1001. You guys know you guys watch me? You guys should know this. Chat, what does 1001 mean? Test. Pop quiz for you guys. What's 18 USC 1001? Quick. What is it, guys? What is it? Let's see how many of you guys pay attention. What is 1001? I literally went over this like a day or two ago. Let's see how much you guys retain the information. Pop quiz. What is 18 USC 1001? Don't look it up, niggas. Off the top. All right, some guys got it. They said lying. Yep, there you go. Perjury is lying on the stand mostly. Okay. On or about September 9, 2022 in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California, petition seeking the records, blah, 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 blah. On or about July 2022, two from the master bedroom of residence located Gable Drive, blah, blah, in a matter within the jurisdiction. Okay. Okay, so Gilbert Arenas made the following materially false statement and misrepresentation of United States Customs and Border Protection, knowing that this statement and representation was untrue. Okay, so I guess he wanted money back that was seized. So Arenas falsely stated that he was not involved in whatever was going on at the party, referring to the illegal gambling at the Gable house on July 19, 2022. In fact, as defendant Arenas then knew, defendant Arenas had knowingly provided gambling equipment at the Gable house to be used to host an illegal poker game on July 19, 2022, had knowingly rented out the Gable house to be used to host an illegal poker game on July 19, 2022, and was collecting rent from the host for operating the illegal gambling game at the Gable house on July 19, 2022. Cooked. Fucking cooked. Wow. Nigga lied to federal agents. Bro, this is why you just don't talk to them. Why the fuck did he even talk? Oh, you know why? He talked to them. He wanted his money back. That's why. There you go. That's how they got him. So this is what basically happened, chat. So it seems, so he wrote a petition to get money back, right? Because they had seized some cash from him during a search warrant or some shit like that. And in a petition for him to get his money back, he lied to customs and said, "Oh, I'm not involved in this gambling operation. I need my money back." Well, we know that's a lie because they got the rent records. And they probably got the fucking money transactions of him sending money for rent and all that. Yep. All right. Well, Gilbert Arenas, holy, what a fucking hell.
Are charged. This means that they could spend up to 5 years in prison for each count.
Wow. All right. Incredible.